all the participants for enriching this conference with their expertise, and we look forward to translating today's discussion into impactful initiatives. To guide us through this final chapter, I'm honored to welcome the distinguished panelist, Honorable Professor Abdul Samad Khaidro, Director of the Diplomatic Academy under the University of World Economy and Diplomacy, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Uzbekistan. I'm honored to welcome Ambassador Gitesh Sarma, former Secretary, West, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. I would request Professor Sanjay Kumar Pandey, Center for Russia and Central Asia Studies, School of International Studies, JNU, to please come on the dais. I would request Professor Badul Alam, sir, former Director of Research and former Head of Department of Political Science, to please come on the dais. I would request His Excellency Iqbal Sohail, sir, Counselor, Embassy of Uzbekistan, to please come on the dais. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Rakesh Khurana, sir, Advisor, MERI, Group of Institutions, to please come on the stage and occupy his seat. Last, I would like to invite Sri Rajesh Mehta, sir, SD University International Foundation, to please come on the dais. I would like all the panelists to please start the discussion. I would like Professor Abdul Samad Khaidro, sir, to please start the discussion. Gitesh? Sorry. I would like Ambassador Gitesh Sarma, sir, to please start the discussion.
Can I speak from there? Good evening to you. I hope I'm audible, and I really enjoy meeting young colleagues from universities and colleges, and you're absolutely free to sleep, to listen to your mobile phone or watch your mobile, but you will benefit tremendously by listening about Central Asia and Southeast Asia. I think this session will give you such insights that will set you for life. So it's up to you. So I have great pleasure really in seeing such young people who fill us with energy. Now, when we talk about international relations, see, we always talk in terms of maps, and we spend a lot of time looking at a map and absorbing the distances, the angles, the connections, the boundaries. That really sets us going. And if you look at the map, look at India, right in the center in this particular map. And how far is Central Asia from here? Have you ever thought of the distances? The flying time from Delhi to Tashkent, where some of our colleagues are, is not more than 2.5 hours. You could fly to Trivandrum in that much time. So it is really a territory, a kind of region which is very, very close to India. For centuries, we were a common region. Influences, people, uh, goods, they travel freely back and forth from India to Central Asia and back. Today, when you talk about Central Asia, it's not only from the mind, it's from the heart that we are like brothers or like cousins. If you have ever seen your cousin or brother after many years, you will find that we are roughly similar, but in a few years, a lot would have changed also. That change also we must respect. But at the same time, there are such common elements which surprise us. So Central Asia has 5 countries, but each one of them has a unique characteristic, and each one of them has a unique connection to India. Today, Central Asia is separated from India by a very difficult region. You know that let's be open that for centuries India had more or less a contiguous border with Central Asia. If you see the campaigns of Amir Temur, he actually, when he went back, he took elephants from here. People came on horseback from Central Asia. So this is a kind of region which is we should be taking interest in Central Asia. You feel you're meeting your brothers, you feel you're meeting your family today when you go to Central Asia. So I strongly encourage you to feel Central Asia while you're trying to understand Central Asia. So that is the broad message. Southeast Asia is not my forte, but culturally, Southeast Asia is also similar. That we have had long period of connections, and we have been together over centuries. You find our religion, our food, the temples, architecture. There is so much in common with Southeast Asia also, which has been lost. One reason might be if why, if we were so close, why we don't know each other so much today. It's possible because when the British came to India and when the Russians perhaps came to Central Asia, and walls came up where there were no walls before. So we today feel like new people, new friends in a room, but actually we were meant to be together. So that's the reason. Even with Southeast Asia, we sometimes may look at Southeast Asia through British eyes, not through our own cultural and historical experience. Now, when we say, Central Asia, and we are close, uh, that the previous speakers have also spoken about the connectivity issue, that one of the greatest challenges today is to bring us back together in such ways that we are able to trade, we are able to move back and forth in a much smoother ways, but that will take time. In my own estimation, we are doing several corridors, north-south corridor through the Chabar port, Ashgabat agreement. Don't worry about these names. These are all kinds of transit corridors, and once they are in place, and once people get used to them, once business gets used to them, then goods will move smoother, and there's a huge demand for Indian goods there. There's a huge demand for the world's best fruits, and some of the finest fruits you can think of will be in Central Asia. So so these kind of things we will get to once again see each other more frequently in different situations. So we are looking forward to a revival of a golden era of cooperation in modern ways. Today, when we see our trade is probably not more than, with Central Asia, about 2 billion US dollars. Again, don't bother to write our notes and all. China is, I think, 100 billion. But we have to be realistic that we can only do what is possible. And let us not, put such a kind of criteria which don't exist. We do not have the connections. There are usually economic relations. They are built largely on long-term projects like a gas pipeline, railway pipeline. They take years to build. And I don't see that through Afghanistan, Pakistan, it will be that smooth. Of course, there are efforts going on, and we know our Uzbek friends are also working on that, but it will take time. So we should look at innovative methods, travel by air, do digital connectivity. I think it was mentioned previously as well. And we should try, people to people. It's amazing how people know Bollywood and Hindi songs and, all kinds of aspects of Indian culture. And when you come back, you're shaken actually that we are same people. So that is the kind of connect. Food also, many of us, we enjoy Mughlai food. Mughlai food, right? And look at the food in Uzbekistan. They have tandoor. Tandoor is tandoor. Naan is naan there. And you have halim. Halim is halim in India. So all these foods, they travel, this distance from Central Asia, along with the travelers and with rulers, and we added masala to them. So it became more spicy, more, but basic cooking styles are also similar even today. So that's the kind of connect, that's the kind of basis, that's the kind of heritage that we have. And there is a tremendous warmth when you meet a Central Asian, you hold hands, the electricity going through, because you are a long lost brother. It's like that, nothing else. So once again, I would say that we must feel Central Asia, as much as we must understand Central Asia. And I really wish that we had more from the journalist fraternity also. Sometimes when I open a newspaper in the morning, Hindustan Times, Hindu and all, we find news of United States or, China or other countries. But what is happening in Uzbekistan or what is happening in Turkmenistan? Did something interesting happen the other day? So these are things we don't find the front pages writing enough on the front page. So we sincerely hope that all those who are here together, MERI Institute, particularly Professor Lalit Agarwal, I thank you and all for doing this wonderful event, bringing us all together, and most of all, young, students who are the future. I look forward. I'm originally from the Indian Foreign Service. I hope at least some of you will join the Indian Foreign Service and understand this region professionally. But even if you're not from into the Foreign Service, as a journalist, as an academician, today there are several of the JNU and all. I find they have their own special centers which are teaching Central Asia, which was never there before. That means it has come onto our public platforms in certain ways. That we understand Central Asia as a distinct region. So I have immense pleasure in recognizing this event as a start of a new kind of era, new initiative, and our young colleagues who are all sitting there behind, they will take us forward to much closer ties with both Central Asia and Southeast Asia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We highly appreciate your remarks based on your personal experience both in Central and Southeast Asia. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to give the floor to Professor Sanjay Kumar Pandey, Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies, School of International Studies, Jawaharlal National GNU. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. I hope this is working. The microphone is working. Is it working? All right. So thank you very much. Thank you, MERI, for inviting me and for organizing this very innovative and novel conference. I call it novel and innovative because the two regions that you have chosen, at one level, someone might think why these two very distinct regions have been chosen to discuss them together. I would say there is a logic. First, the two regions are distinct, as I said. First, in terms of the number of countries that we are discussing. On the one side, there are 5 Central Asian countries. On the other side, we have 10 countries of the ASEAN group. ASEAN, which comprises of the population, total population would be more than 600 million or maybe around 650 million. In Central Asia, we have 70 million barely. So about 8 or 10 times larger in terms of population. The same holds true about the size of the economy. But then there are reasons why we should discuss these two regions together. And especially sitting here in India, from an Indian point of view, from Indian security calculus, these two regions have very special significance. The students of geopolitics would know, or security studies would know, that the two theaters, geopolitical theaters, or security scenarios or theaters that Indian policymakers, security and defense and foreign policy makers have in mind. One is the huge Eurasian landmass. Central Asia may be small in terms of population, but it is at the core, at the heart, at the center of the Eurasian heartland. On the other side, and the most distinctive feature of Central Asia is its landlockedness. On the other side, we have countries which are all ocean seafaring countries. So this is yet another contrast. Landlocked Central Asia versus Southeast Asia, which have countries situated in Indo-Pacific Ocean. So, but these two, Indo-Pacific and the Eurasian landmass, are two theaters which is very important in the minds of Indian policymakers. Not just Indian policymakers, China, which is another very important player in both the regions. We can see that China's Silk and Road Initiative, OBOR or BRI or New Silk Road, whatever you call it, one of the directions of that policy is Central Asia and towards the West, towards Europe. And quite naturally, the policy, OBOR policy, was launched in Astana, in Kazakhstan. The other direction of China's BRI is the Maritime Silk Road, which was launched in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia. So there are very valid reasons to discuss these two very distinct regions together. One factor, another factor, I would say, brings them together, that is India. India, which is in the center of the two regions, has had commonalities with both of them. Many of the speakers in the earlier sessions talked about, someone said how Professor Ambassador Gitesh Sharma said that till 1947, we had a direct opening to Central Asia via Afghanistan. And for centuries, there has been a constant flow of people, commerce, religion, culture between the two regions. Perhaps Central Asia and South Asia share so much, perhaps no other two regions share that much of culture and commerce as Central Asia and South Asia. So this very long historical cultural connectivity is there. On the other side, we have Professor Badrul Islam. He would tell us that from Orissa, from Tamil Nadu, in Orissa, you still have Bali Jatra, and which celebrates the old maritime connection between Orissa and Southeast Asia, Bali. In the morning, someone talked about the Chola Empire, which included many of the areas in Southeast Asia. So our southern and eastern provinces had long-standing historical cultural ties with Southeast Asia, and our northern area, the region or province of Punjab, has similar connections with Central Asia. there was a time when, not very long ago, only 200 years back, when there was not a town or village in Central Asia which did not have Indians. Most of the trade and also money lending was basically dealt with by Indian traders in Central Asia till early 19th century. Similarly, Central Asians used to, I mean, if you read old accounts of Central Asia, the turbans that they would wear, it was mainly from Shikarpur. The Shikarpuri merchants and Shikarpuri turbans and textiles was very popular in Central Asia. So India is a country which connects Central Asia and Southeast Asia, and we have had very long-standing ties with both the regions, and also in today's security calculus, these two regions, the Eurasian landmass, of which Central Asia is the heartland, heart of Eurasian landmass, and Southeast Asia, which is so critical to maritime security of Indo-Pacific, which the Americans have been emphasizing. Americans, incidentally, if you read history of post-Second World War period, you would know that apart from NATO, the Americans launched two other security organizations. One was CENTO, or Baghdad Pact initially, which was centered around West Asia, Northwest Asia, and the other was NATO, Southeast Asian Treaty Organization. So from then onwards, these two regions have had their very specific significance for this part of the world, and I would say for global politics. So it's very pertinent to discuss them together. I'm supposed to discuss Central Asia. I know we don't have time. Well, many of the speakers in the morning session talked about our long-standing ties with Central Asia. I would say there is another commonality which connects India. I mean, one of the problem, I won't say problem area, but one of the challenges that India, South Asia, India, Central Asia connections face is AFPAC region or Afghanistan. Afghanistan is considered a security challenge both by the Central Asians as well as by India. Similarly, on the other side, if you see, there is Myanmar, which has its own very specific challenges and which basically is very critical if India has to. In the morning, Professor Shankari Sridharaman talked about the connection via Northeast India through Myanmar, through Thailand to Southeast Asia. In that, Myanmar, which has a very difficult security scenario, posits a challenge. Similarly, on the northwestern side, in our connections and ties with Central Asia and with West Asia, Northwest Asia, Afghanistan is a challenge. Both are opportunities, both are challenges. So here again, there is something which Indian policymakers, there is a similarity in the type of challenge that they face in the northwestern part and in the southeastern part of the country. About Central Asia, just 1 or 2 minutes. Our ties and when it comes to our security and political ties with Central Asia, again, Afghanistan is one, terrorism is another, extremism, these in the morning were mentioned as common challenges that India and Central Asia face. Incidentally, Central Asia is a region, if you think about the major security challenges, and maybe here I'm talking from the perspective US or European perspective, the major challenges that they see in this region, one is Russia, one is China, one declining superpower or re-emerging superpower, and the other, of course, the Chinese are the main challengers. So Russia and China, then you have AFPAC region, then you have Iran. So these are the major security challenges. The Arab world, Arab-Israel conflict, the Red Sea, where we saw some attacks on ships. So all these abut Central Asia. Central Asia is located just as at the juncture and fulcrum of these very challenging security areas all around them. So, and India has a similar concern. India has a concern vis-a-vis China. India has concern vis-a-vis Afpak region. India would like to, just like Central Asians, India would like to have for Central Asians and for India, Iran is very critical when it comes to connectivity. Our best option to connect with Central Asia and Europe and the Eurasian heartland is via Iran, INSTC, Chabahar. Similarly, for the Central Asians, the best possible option would be the Iranian option, which shares border with Turkmenistan, which shares border with Afghanistan, and through Afghanistan, they can easily connect. So, in all these scenarios and in all these senses, India and Central Asia have very similar common security concerns and challenges, and they have initiated many dialogues through which they are discussing these common challenges. I know I should end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Sanjay Kumar Pandey. We know you as one of the best specialists on Russia and Central Asia. And thanks a lot for your cordial and permanent support to our mission in India. Thanks a lot. So now I would like to give the floor to Professor Badrul Alam, former Director of Research and former Head of Department of Political Science, Jamia Milli Islamic University.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible? Yes, thank you. A warm good afternoon to everybody in the MERI group, particularly the organizers who organized this particular very important conference on Central Asia and Southeast Asia. I would like to compliment each one of you. You did a superb job. I've never been to this campus before. This is my first time here, and I'm really impressed, particularly with the level of cordiality, with camaraderie, and particularly the interactions between the students, among the students and the faculty, etc. So thank you very much for inviting me. I will make my presentation very short and crisp. Basically, we are talking about Central Asia and Southeast Asia within a very changing global politics, which is still in the process of a lot of shifts, a lot of challenges, etc. So I think, first of all, because we are both students and also kind of teachers and practitioners of international politics, international relations, global politics, I would like to posit or contextualize within the context of how India takes the foreign policy decision making towards Southeast Asia, towards Central Asia, toward other forays, and toward other vistas. I think if you look at some of the mainstream international relations theory, those of you who read that, for example, the realist theory, we talk about power, we talk about national interest, survival, anarchic society, self-help. I think if you look back in India's foreign policy, particularly in the last 20, 30 years, both during UPA 1 and 2 and NDA 1, 2, and 3, in the last 20, 25 years, I think you see a semblance of all of these things are embedded. We talk about national interest. What is in our national interest? We do that. For example, during this COVID crisis, we got oil from Russia. A lot of people did complain to us that we are being very sneaky, we are being very opportunistic, but I think India stuck to its stand because we had to fulfill our energy security, not only of ourselves, a lot of people, plus all our friends around the globe. Also during the Manmohan Singh years, we did the nuclear deals. So I think if you look back in terms of the diversified foreign policy arena, I think we have done a lot of important steps, notable steps, keeping in mind the national interest as the core in that area. The power also is very, very important. The survival, of course, we have to survive as a sovereign state. I think in all of those areas, I think we should really credit ourselves and getting good marks. In terms of neo-realist theories, like they talk about power, national interest, etc., they also talk about capabilities. So if you talk in terms of the hard power that some people talked about, in terms of the nuclear deterrence, in terms of the missile capabilities, all the way from Agni 1 to Agni 5, to Nag, Trisul, Pinaki, Tejas, Arjun, a lot of those things, not only that takes care of the defense needs of our own country, but also we are being able to export to a significant number of countries around the world. So in terms of the capabilities, we have got the nuclear deterrence, we have got NDMA, National Disaster Management Authorities, and we have been open as part of the Coast Guard and many other areas in that particular area. In terms of the decision-making theory that Graham Allison talks about in terms of rational actor versus non-rational actor. I think the whole world recognizes that we have been acting rationally in our national interest. So we are not like a non-rational or irrational actor. So we do take all the things in a very cumulative ways and we take decision in that regard. Also in terms of the group thing that Jenny Stein, Richard Net-Lebo and other people talk about, we do things in a more composite kind of way, taking all stakeholders aboard, like when you take a very important decisions, for example. I think it goes with in a very broad concept, what our Prime Minister says about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Prayas, and Sabka Biswas. I think all of those things are very, very important. Vikas, Prayas, Saath, and also Vikas. So all of these things are embedded. Second point I would like to raise very quickly is we have to see the big picture. Then we have to come to the more micro picture or a macro picture. The big picture is the global power equation kind of things. And power is a very fluctuating kind of things between major power, middle power, and small power. Major can be middle, middle can be small, and it can be the other way around, it can be reversed. For example, certain countries in a geographical size, you can say, for example, Qatar, example like Vietnam. They can be small geographically, but in recent years, we have seen they have exercised a significant average time of power and also in terms of leverage. So you cannot say a small is going to be small forever in terms of the real power quotient. Qatar, for example, all the warring factions of Afghanistan, they had recently organized the FIFA World Cup, and also many other things like the hostage deal in Gaza and West Asia, etc., etc. So I think the decision-making, the group think, the neo-realist and constructivist theory, they talk about ideas and norms. We do believe in ideas, we do believe in norms. I think here it comes to the picture of the soft power that was the session just before us. They talk about the soft power capabilities. Joseph and I talked about what is soft power. Soft power is a power of attraction. For example, the Bollywood people talk about Indian cuisine, Indian Ayurveda, herbal diplomacy, temple diplomacy, cricket, kho, public diplomacy. I think you pick up any of those things. I think that definitely enhances the power and the power quotient of India. I think some of the speaker in the earlier session, they talk about Afghanistan and soft power. I read somewhere that during the 90s and the early 2000s, when the Taliban were in power and they had got different competing factions fighting for turf battle, the only time they stopped the war in Afghanistan was when this India's popular TV serial, Kyonke Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, was in play. And that's the only time both the Taliban factions used to stop their fighting. When I was in Japan for 8 years as a professor in Tokyo, there was a movie by Rajinikanth that was more popular than the movie Titanic. So that shows that Indian stars, both from Mumbai and also from other parts, including from Rajinikanth, they're extremely popular. You go to places like Fiji, go to Singapore, go to Japan, and many other places. So what I'm saying is the soft power quotient that is definitely enhanced and that has made forays. India's diplomacy in terms of, we started with bilateralism, we are sticking to it. We also talk about multilateralism, whether it is Quad, whether it is SAARC, whether it is ASEAN, and many other things. We are part of the BRICS, we are part of the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organizations. We have, during the last G20 conference, we also start about IMEC, India Middle East Economic Corridors. I think that may be in the play in the next couple of years, particularly now that Donald Trump is coming back for the second term. So that remains to be seen. I think this multilateral, and also recently during S. Jaishankar's time, he also talked about minilateralism, about plurilateralism. So it doesn't have to be just one-on-one bilateral, doesn't have to be one with many. It can be one with 3, one with 5, one with 10, and we can have a meaningful diplomacy. And also another important thing the Jaishankar said was, we may be non-Western, but we are not anti-Western. So non-Western and anti-Western, they are different terms like that. So I think, let me just conclude in a few seconds that in terms of the global fluctuation, we are going through a profound transition in terms of climate change, in terms of the things that are happening in South China Sea, in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, in Middle East, in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Ukraine. So the thing, and also there are a lot of external variables that I think we all need to remember over which we have no control. Nobody talked about COVID, but it came and also we took care of it. H1N1, Ebola, and many other things. So who knows? that down the road, there may be another pandemics in the way, there may be some other imponderables, there may be a big tsunami, but we have to deal with it. I think what we need to do is, and I think India has been doing a reasonably a good job and a fine job, is trying to tackle it through pragmatism, through resilience, and through also in a more diversified diplomacy. During the Cold War years, we put all our eggs in one particular basket. But since then, we have become smarter and wiser, and we have been putting eggs in different baskets. We have been in front. I think India is probably the only country they can pick. Our prime minister can pick up the phone. He can speak to president of US, UK, France, to Mr. Putin and also Mr. Zelensky, and trying to bring a approach between the two warring factions, Russia and Ukraine. And who knows, it may be successful at the very end of the day. So I think the way forward, I'm not being overtly optimistic. I'm very much aware of the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. But having said that, I think the chances are pretty reasonably bright that we should be reaching the goal as a rising power, as an emerging power, as an upper tier economy. And I think we will get the respect, not that we are demanding it, we will earn it. And I think India is going in the right direction. But I think if we stay firm and we stay resolved, I think we should be able to do it. Thank you once again for inviting me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Badrul Alam. First of all, for your interesting and objective assessment of interregional development and dynamics. It was very interesting. Thank you very much. Next, I would give the floor to our colleague, my friend, he is deputy of our ambassador of the Republic of Uzbekistan to India, Iqbaljan Salih. Please, floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, or what time is it now? It's getting good evening almost. Namaste, namaskar. Look at my speech today. There's just few items. And I'm getting very nervous, dear colleagues, dear Excellency Ambassador Abdul Samad Haidarov, dear Professor Lalit Agarwal, dear Professor Ramakant Vivedi, colleagues, Ambassador Vidya Sharma. We have got very wonderful colleagues in here. There's an ocean of knowledge. I'm getting nervous and excited because I will speak about the practices that we are right now implementing in terms of the further extending the Uzbekistan-India strategic relationships and the partnerships on all fronts, whether it's going to be diplomacy, whether it's going to be trade, economics, whether it's going to be exports, investments, whether it's going to be establishing the joint ventures. But I'm not going further in-depth speaking about because I don't want to take up much of your time, because I'm very excited to join your colleagues, academia and the professors and the teaching faculty. And I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Professor Ramakant Vivedi, to Professor Lalit Agarwal for inviting the Uzbekistan Embassy. And this morning, we have been represented by His Excellency, Mr. Sardar Rustambayev, Ambassador of Uzbekistan to India. Now, when we were on our way with my colleague, Mr. Sadruddin, he never told me that I'm taking this microphone and I'm going to be speaking. And when we were having a cup of tea, he told me that you are one of the speakers, Mr. Kampande. And I just sat back and said, here are the several items that I'm going to be concentrating in my little speech. I'm taking this fine opportunity as well I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to the faculty and the students of the Management Education Research Institute. They have been very helpful today for us, the diplomats and all the academia, to feel they're comfortable. And I'm enjoying to see how the distinguished academia, Professor Agarwal, Ramakant Dwivedi, are enjoying their cozy sofa now after a long day. And they have done everything to organize this event as comfortable as possible. And thank you so much. You know, when I sit back in my office at the embassy, Chanakapuri, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan Mark, I always look at the map of India. in my office. What a huge country. What a wonderful country. And I'm just spotting myself in the Delhi, just a little spot, and what a huge country it is. India, it's 1.5 billion. The population has already overcome its big neighbor, China. 4 trillion US dollars of the GDP, fifth economy in the world. And under his wise, the wise leadership of Narendra Modi ji, India is going to be in 2030, if I'm not lying, inshallah, is the third economy of the world. Why not? India has got every potential for that. I have been with the leadership of Uzbekistan for nearly 20 years, and I have sat in many negotiations and the talks when our first late president, Mr. Islam Karimov, and now the president, distinguished His Excellency Mr. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, has led the negotiations with the first Dr. Manmohan Singh, and later on, several times, Narendra Modi ji. And the last one has been told by today's our ambassador. It has taken place November 23 in Kazan, Russian Federation. I'm not going to retell you what was discussed at that meeting, but it was a very wonderful meeting in terms of the pinpointing, in terms of the identifying what was done between Uzbekistan and India, what needs to be done further in order to further extend the relationships and the partnerships between Uzbekistan and the great country of India. Right now, we cannot boast of the huge numbers for the bilateral trade because of the fact that the academia, distinguished academia, has already told us about the huge difficulties in terms of the connectivity. Professor Sanjay Kumar Pandey has already underscored that Uzbekistan is one of the 2 landlocked nations in the world. One is Luxembourg in Europe, and Uzbekistan is the second. What does that mean? It means that we need to cross 2 countries in order to get to the ocean or the sea. At the same time, we have been doing a lot of efforts in terms of making this possible, a lot of efforts in terms of the connectivity between the 2 countries. As Ambassador Gita Sharma has told us that he has served as a good ambassador of India in Uzbekistan, just not more than 2.5 hours in the air flight between Delhi and Tashkent. Why cannot we move our goods and products from India to Uzbekistan, from Uzbekistan to India, if we're just 2.5 hours distances apart to great countries? Therefore, indeed, this November late, we're going to have a trilateral meeting between the transport ministers of Uzbekistan, Iran, and India in terms of the better utilizing the possibilities and opportunities of the Chabahar seaport, because we know that under the leadership of Modi ji, there is a 10-year lease of the Chabahar seaport, and Uzbekistan is one of the countries that wants to utilize and exploit and take better advantage of these opportunities to move the goods forward between the 2 countries. Uzbekistan, compared to the huge nation of the country of India, is not so big. We have just 38 million population versus 1.5 billion. But at the same time, just 47,000 square kilometers of our territory. While India is a huge country, which only the country is placed in the Industan Peninsula. Our relationships go far, far back when we used to interact with one another long before the Great Silk Road. It was long before the Great Silk Road. It was Great Spice Road when the caravans on board the horses, the mules, and camels moved along the products between the 2 countries. And this regard, I would like to say that just let us remember Al-Biruni, who wrote the great book on India. That time, there was no country whatsoever, India. He wrote the country Kitab al-Hind. Kitab al-Hind is the major source on the country of Bharat, which we respect and know very much. Kitab al-Hind is the source which was written by Al-Biruni, then who has been a scholarly scientist, then territory of Uzbekistan. Now we can disseminate, we can outsource many information from that book, as we know the Bharat now. It's just been for me, just a little more than 1 year since I came as a diplomat. I'm the counselor at the embassy. I oversee all the issues which pertains to humanities, people-to-people contacts, tourism, and a bit of economy. Why not? But at the same time, day by day, I am falling in love with Bharat, falling in love with India, with its traditions. And day by day, I'm feeling myself that there are a lot of interest of the connections between the two countries, between the two nations. Some people, Ambassador Sharma said that there are a lot of common words. And this morning we have had just 5,000 common words between the Hindi and Uzbek language. Not least speaking, our huge love in Uzbekistan for the Bollywood. Myself as a diplomat, I'm a huge lover of the Bollywood. All the time on the YouTube, all the time on the internet, I follow those films shot by Raj Kapoor ji. The 100th centennial anniversary is going to be celebrated in a landmark occasion this year in India. And why not? And one of the favorite songs by late his son, Mushair to Nahi. It's one of my favorite ones. And I just all the time, when I hear these kind of songs, when I follow those YouTube channels, I feel that I'm the part of this country. I feel that India, Bharat, is my second home. And why not? Therefore, I do sincerely thank academia, distinguished Professor Lalit Agarwal, Professor Ramakant Vivedi, and distinguished academia, and our distinguished moderator of today's event, Professor Ambassador Abdusamad Haidar, for making possible for me to speak from this awesome. And I thank you, all the MERI researchers, students, for making possible this beautiful and wonderful event in this wonderful place of the Management Education Research Institute of India in the New Delhi. Thank you so much. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Mr. Iqbaljan Saleh, for your very interesting remark, especially for your practical approaches towards bilateral relations and issues related to connectivity. Thanks for your valuable suggestions. I hope that our bilateral relations will be flourishing. Thank you very much. Next, Purana, advisor, MERI Group institutions. Please, floor is yours.
Good evening, friends. I hope you're not tired because you're looking for an exciting question and answer session. Not just on this session, but perhaps you can ask questions for all the sessions of today. I have learned some things. Now, this question and answer session is going to be slightly organized differently. You can write your question and name, of course, on a slip of paper, and volunteers would, you just raise your hand and volunteers will pick it up. I'll quickly try to see if there is a commonality in some questions. We can't ask too many of them, but I don't mind that we cover the whole conference in terms of the important questions which strike you. Now, to help you think about it, meanwhile, you put down your question and send it over. And with the permission of the chairs, I would then summarize and address them to the current panel. Now, looking at the whole thing, I go back to the title we gave, Challenges and Opportunities. And Mr. Goel, after recuperation from his illness, is with us. We are very, very happy, the former IFS officer. The first MERI dialogue we did, we kept the same thing, and he asked the question in the beginning, are you looking at opportunities or challenges? Because opportunities come out of meeting the challenges. Now, this is one of the things I have learned in this particular seminar, that frankly speaking, there are only opportunities in this whole area. Opportunities might be in geopolitical sense, it may be geoeconomic sense, and I learned a new word, geocultural sense, right? And there are only opportunities. Now, what are the challenges then? Well, what is the management profession? What is the diplomatic profession? What is the political profession? Is to solve those problems, right? And the problems can be solved. Now, this is very clear on part of everyone that there is no security challenges between this area and this area plus this area. Something around it, yes, Myanmar, Afghanistan, and yes, competition with China will be there. It's an emerging power. It will be there. And when it meets the hegemon US or West, then there will be clashes there also. And we'll have to choose sides. Having said this, the trade has grown. People to people contacts have also grown. At least Indians are going and working at those places, including IT and so on. They are going and studying in medical colleges of Ukraine, it was earlier, Tajikistan, and Thailand, wherever you say. So they are there. And the numbers are there. Now we were very happy that, number of about $24 billion 20 years ago, we are in ASEAN, something like $120 billion, while our target was 200 odd billion dollars. So $120 billion is a lot compared to $24 billion. But China at that time about had the same trade with ASEAN. And today they are more than $1 trillion, right? Okay. So compared to China, we are not doing well. And if we are not doing well, we have to sincerely ask the question, if security issues are not important, the geopolitical issues are not that important, right? Somebody handles it, then this is a managerial problem. It's a problem of our FTAs. We have done so many agreements, and I don't think there's any other country which has not been able to work so many agreements. I'm not going to count them. It will take time. So this is what we learned. There are a lot of agreements with ASEAN, but very few are functional. And we got out of the RCEP also, because protectionist argument is still very strong in our country. And when I started teaching, even then I used to say about industrial policy that India is the only country where a 25-year-old company or a 50-year-old company has protection because they are considered infant industry. Infants at 50. And I think to some extent it continues. Now, if we create an infant industry environment, then obviously we say, oh, China is able to produce it cheaper. Well, that is producing cheaper with respect to the rest of the world also. But of course, there will be high-tech goods, there will be value-added goods, there will be services in which that cheapness of whatever it is, and if it was labor, that gap is reducing, the salaries are going up. So that argument is also not there anymore. Having said this, therefore, it is a managerial problem. Therefore, there are a lot of opportunities for managers to work there in terms of improving these things. Then I learned a 3C framework, commerce, connectivity, and cultural relationships, what we want. So 3C approach should be. We are managers, after all, we will figure out those concepts. And and so we have discussed this. Connectivity challenge China has met. We may criticize them. Debt trap and whatever it is, but analyze all the projects. Debt trap projects are very, very few. And all our projects, unfortunately, have not worked. We can say, unfortunately, Myanmar, unfortunately, Afghanistan, unfortunately, something else. But there is one project where everybody is talking positively, and that's the Chabar project. And that is what connects us to Central Asia also, where, yes, US said they'll put sanctions, but they're not, thankfully. And so that's also part of the analysis. There was an investment by a private company also, looking at the geopolitics, saying that even if the US puts a sanction, we will be able to get away with it. Right? And we have got away with it so far. So, Chabar project is the one which has a very good ray of hope for improving this connectivity and not falling in the trap like TAPI and others. So now summarizing this, well, the framework is there. Connectivity has to improve. Cultural connect has to improve. I was sharing with Professor Kajrao yesterday, when we were young, in a small city, when Soviet era was still there, before 91, delegations used to come, cultural delegations used to come from Ukraine. A small place like Rohtak, next door. And in the open air theater we had in the town, that was all. We didn't have a closed theater. They used to perform. And then there used to be Uzbek food, which we all loved, and then of course dance with everybody else. And over a period of time, in fact, such connects reduced. And if they are there, they are in large towns only. Therefore, this cultural connect has to spread. It doesn't have to remain. Today, of course, TV is available, everything is available, and it can go. But it is a one-to-one contact is fantastic. You all get together, dance, cultural connectivity also comes. There are other ways. So, summary, the 3C approach should be applied. And like any other management project, we should say, have we moved from here to here? Is our closeness from here to here? Is our understanding from here to here? How many of us know Uzbek language? Dr. Devedi, yes. I don't know anybody else does. And vice versa. So let me just pick up the question then. This is a broad summary of what we have learned. We have covered a lot of ground, but nobody has said that, our connectivity should not improve. That our culture connect should not improve. That our commerce should not improve. That there is no commerce opportunity. There are plenty of opportunities. We don't have to calculate much. Energy, uranium, ABCD, selling our cloth, selling our medicine, selling our other services, digital. You don't have to go into detailed analysis and employ KPMG or E&Y to figure out what the potentials are. Potentials are there. Number of people are less there, but then incomes are higher. Kazakhstan is very rich. Anyways, so let me see. Question is, we have so many platforms relating to e-commerce, digital platforms, digital payment systems. So how India can collaborate with regional stakeholders to boost cross-border trade? Asked by Shivani. Now, in this case, by countries, right? Shivani? Okay, anybody would like to attempt this? Mr. Vijayant is not here. He could have done it very well.
Yeah, if there's any questions related to our common issues, you may ask, please.
Sorry, sir?
Yes, sir. Myself, Shivani.
Yeah, by regional you mean across the country, right? By regional, what do you mean? Regional within India or regional across?
Central and Southeast Asia.
Okay, done. Okay, next question is, how can India, Central Asia and Southeast Asia? So now at least we have started speaking this in one tone. It's like ICASA, INSA or something like that. And that is because once one draws the map oneself and sees, it looks like one region in a sense, if we had better transportation. So how can India, Central Asia and Southeast Asia collaborate to overcome tariff and non-tariff barriers that hinder trade? Right. Can I just speak the other questions also and we can take them together? Yeah. How can initiatives like student exchange programs, joint research projects be leveraged to build long-term partnership? I'm sure any of our professors will be able to answer it because the best two universities have these relationships in perspective of India and Central Asia. There is a Central Asia Studies Center in Srinagar University also. Okay, next one is what strategies can be put in place to build resilient trade of investment relationship that can withstand future disruptions? Asked by Deep Soni. So I think we should take that up. Let's do one thing. Let's take one question each. Or combine them. Yeah.
Sorry. I think there was a question regarding if a particular student would like to pursue some research or some academic activities in Central Asia or for the example in Southeast Asia, I mean, how he or she can do it. I think there are many ways to do it. I think particularly we are very lucky and privileged that we are in Delhi. We have got Jawaharlal Nehru University, we have got Delhi University, we have got Jamia Millia University, Amity University, many other universities. JNU, for example, I have been a student there. We have a very robust, very vibrant School of International Studies. They do have a program, Central Asia, Southeast Asia, a wonderful reputation, wonderful teachers, research scholars. Over the years, last 30, 40 years, they've been doing splendid work. They also teach School of Languages like the Kazakh language, Uzbek language, etc. In Jamia also, where I have been teaching, they do have also all of these languages that are spoken in Central Asia. So if any student would like to do that, I think I would recommend that he or she can take some courses, either in language or in international studies or area studies, for example, and maybe combine both of them. As far as the government of India is concerned, recently the government of India has done NEP 2020, new education policy. One of that is internationalization. Like Indian campuses are setting campuses abroad. We already have campuses in Abu Dhabi, in Tanzania, and we are also planning to open up in many different areas of the world, including in Central Asian republics and also Southeast Asia. And also vice versa, the other way around. Those countries coming into our country, and they're already setting up campuses here. So I think that is another way where we can link up with the think tanks, with the research institutes, ICCR, Indian Council for Cultural Relations, that have India chair in contemporary studies, Indian studies in different universities. I remember when I went to Russia in Moscow, they also had also India chair teaching for 1 or 2 semesters in Tashkent, in many other places, in Uzbekistan and many other places. So I think it is quite possible for a student to do research. If they would like to do it here over, they can go to JNU or Jamia or DU or any other universities in India. And also they can do some very meaningful, wonderful research in different areas of Central Asia and also Southeast Asia.
Fine, sir. Thank you. Would you like to add something, sir?
Yes, maybe. But the question of connectivity, how Southeast Asia, India, and Central Asia can connect. Well, from the morning, we have heard many speakers, and generally most of the academic writings on Central Asia, they emphasize the fact that the biggest challenge between India and Central Asia is lack of direct connectivity. India was very early in taking initiative. In the year 2000, we signed one agreement, which was between Russia, Iran, and India. It was signed in September 2000 at St. Petersburg. Then it was implemented in 2002. But since then, there was not much activity, mainly because there were sanctions on Iran, and Iran was the key country in this connection. After 2014, 2015, we have seen flurry of activity on INSTC. In the morning, we heard Dr. Rajkumar Sharma talked about some of these initiatives. There were dry runs on INSTC. Then from 2016, we have this Chabahar port, which was supposed to be another way to connect to Afghanistan and Central Asia. One of the major problems with INSTC or Chabahar is that India still does not have very substantial trade with Central Asia. It's barely $2 billion. Even with Russia, till 2.5 years back, it was $10 billion or so. Only in the last 2 years, we have seen a big jump. The trade is now between $60 to $65 billion. But even that is not sufficient to make Chabahar or INSTC viable. How it can become viable? It will only be if other countries, especially Southeast Asian countries, if they start using Chabahar and INSTC, Bandar Abbas, for trading with not just Russia and Central Asia, but with Europe. The problem, of course, is that they would not want to trade via Russia. That was the main direction, trajectory of INSTC. But there are other options. INSTC also branches out from Azerbaijan, Armenia. There are other routes which bypasses Russia. So unless and until these projects, Southeast Asian countries, they see them as their future in order to connect and in order to trade with the Eurasian countries. That is the only way through which these connectivity projects can become viable.
That's very good insight. Sir, would you like to add something? on the digital.
No, thank you, thank you. I
Okay.
think, yeah, thank you very much. I hope, inshallah, we will continue this kind of conversations in this coming weeks, years, etc. But yesterday, if you remember, we exchanged views on these issues you mentioned. And today, you shared your personal information, but reflecting objective vision of India on many international issues and problems. Thank you very much. Thank you very
Well,
much.
With your permission,
Yes.
with his permission, I'll add two words which he taught me yesterday. And he said, we still think in geopolitical terms. Soft power. Is the word power adequate in that? Is it right? That when you're talking of soft power, you're talking of friendship, you're talking of that. And then he said, you know what Russians call it? They also call it SP, but it's called social policy. That's a social policy, which has to be fine-tuned and not generate soft power. Did I understand you right, sir?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, with that, I give the podium back to Chairman.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much again. Thank you. Thank you. Now I would like to give the floor for concluding remarks to Shri Rajesh Mehta, SG Unit International Foundation. Please, floor is yours.
Hello. Am I audible to all? I'm supposed to conclude the session, but before that, I must tell you a few experiences of mine. I have spent 3 years in Central Asia. Please remember, I've spent 3 years of my life in Central Asia, and the kind of scope which Central Asia offers, no other place in the world offers. Please remember this. Central Asia offers you massive scope for education, offers you massive scope for medical services. It offers you massive scope for oil and gas. I'm just telling you practical, because when you grow up, you will also have to think of many angles in life. So I'm giving you the very practical advice. Central Asia, especially Uzbekistan, offers you excellent opportunities which you cannot imagine any other country. It is one of the best countries to associate with India. More or less, it has a lot of other scopes. It has the maximum production of fruit. It has the maximum production of dry fruits. I'm telling you the facts, which I don't know when you will come to know, but I'm giving you the hard facts. So kindly, when you grow up, please think about forming good relations with Uzbekistan. It will give you an excellent return in every field. This is one thing which I must tell you. Regarding the Southeast Asia, these countries are also coming very, very close to us. And all these countries also offer us excellent scope for business, for education, and for other fields. So kindly, I'm giving you the real advice. Please concentrate on Uzbekistan, concentrate on other Central Asian countries, as well as the Southeast Asian countries. I'm so very grateful to Mr. I.P. Agarwal. I'm so very grateful to Mr. Lalit Agarwal. And I am very grateful to Mr. Dwivedi, who all have put in a lot of effort to make this event a grand success. And I again wish you all young people a very great success and excellent relations between India and Central Asia. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Shri Rajesh Mehta, for your assessment, and especially for your experience you obtained in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent. Thank you for your kind word. Thank you very much. Thank you. I hope your cultural center, you headed those times, will be continuing. All your plans and all your dreams will be implemented, inshallah. And I hope that our bilateral relations will be only strengthening and flourishing. Thanks a lot. And using this opportunity, I would like to again express my deepest gratitude to the leadership of MERI institutions, especially to Professor Agrawal, Vice President of MERI Group institutions, to everybody in this hall, and especially those who spend a part of their lives in Central Asian countries. I mean, you, first of all, you served in Tashkent, and many, many other colleagues. And inshallah, we will continue our interaction, not only in Delhi, but in Tashkent, in other Central Asian republics. And we would like, I mean, Central Asian republics, we would like to see this connectivity strengthening each day. That's why I think that today's forum was very productive, was very fruitful. And personally for me, it was very, not only interesting, but very, very teaching, because I got many new suggestions from this forum. And using this opportunity, I would like to say thanks a lot for this forum organized at the highest level. Many thanks again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for such a wonderful discussion. It is a privilege and honor to extend a heartfelt gratitude to all the distinguished guests. As a part of our tradition, we facilitate our guests with a token of respect and gratitude. May I now please request Honorable Shri I.P. Agarwal, Sir, President, MERI Group of Institutions, and Honorable Professor Lalit Agarwal, Sir, Vice President, MERI Group of Institutions, to present a gesture of gratitude to Ambassador Gitesh Sarma, Sir, former Secretary West, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. Sir, I would now like to invite Professor Sanjay Kumar Pandey, Sir, Center of Russia and Central Asia Studies, School of International Studies, to kindly receive a token of appreciation as a gesture of our heartfelt gratitude. Thank you, sir. Mehta ji. Sir, Rakesh sir. I would like to invite Professor Badrul Alam, Sir, former Director of Research and former Head of Department of Political Science, to kindly receive a gesture of our heartfelt gratitude. Now I would like to invite Professor Dr. Rajesh Mehta, Sir, Secretary, Journal, Unity International Foundation, to kindly receive a token of appreciation as a gesture of our heartfelt gratitude. Thank you, sir. It is a pleasure to invite Professor Dr. Ramakant Dwivedi, sir, to deliver the vote of thanks on this significant occasion. Sir is a prominent scholar and head of Center for International Studies at MERI Group of Institutions. Sir, we look forward to your words of gratitude and reflection.
Thank you, ma'am. It is indeed a matter of both privilege and pleasure for me to extend vote of thanks. At the outset, my gratitude to all chair, distinguished speakers, participants, and all those who have taken pain to come from their busy schedule to attend this event. A word of special thanks to extended MERI family. They have taken lots of hard work in order to put these things together. Finally, a gratitude to all those who have directly or indirectly facilitated today's events. With these words, thanks you to all. A special thanks and gratitude also to administration, to the organizers in the lawn, and pardon me if I'm missing anybody. So lots of thanks and see you soon. Thank you.
May I now request all the dignitaries to please come and